I was 19 when I met Jake. It wasn't love at first sight, but something even more dangerous, comfort at first sight. The kind where silence doesn't feel awkward and glances mean more than words. He was my best friend's older brother. We met at her birthday party. I remember he made a sarcastic comment about the playlist and I instantly fired back. That turned into a full debate about music, which turned into hours of conversation, which turned into a friendship I never saw coming. Jake had this calmness about him. He wasn't the loud, flashy guy people notice in a crowd, he was the one people remember after the party. He read books, the deep, philosophical kind. He loved long walks, black coffee, and vintage maps. I was the exact opposite, chaotic, loud, emotional, and impulsive. But somehow, we clicked. We started texting. Then calling. Then spending time just the two of us. It was innocent. Just two people laughing over movie quotes, sharing playlists, and losing track of time. Until it wasn't. One night, after my finals, he showed up with donuts and said, "You survived another semester, this calls for a celebration." We ended up sitting on the hood of his car, looking at stars, and that's when he leaned in. Our first kiss felt inevitable. And terrifying. The relationship didn't go public for a while. His sister didn't know. Our mutual friends didn't know. We were figuring it out. But to me, it felt like the beginning of forever. Until one summer night. We were at his sister's backyard barbecue, sitting under fairy lights, just the two of us again. He looked at me and asked, "What if we made this forever?" There was no ring. No kneeling. Just a quiet question, full of hope. But I panicked. Not because I didn't love him. I did, more than I'd ever loved anyone. But I was only 21. I had plans to study abroad. I wasn't ready to be someone's wife. I said no. Not harshly. Not cruelly. Just a scared, shaking no. He didn't get angry. He just nodded and whispered, "Then I hope you find what you're looking for." That was the last time I saw him. I wish I could say I moved on easily. I didn't. I tried dating. But every guy felt like a cheap knockoff. I chased my career, lived in 3 cities, and tried to fill my days with achievements. But at night, it was always Jake who crept into my thoughts. I heard bits and pieces from his sister. He moved away, worked in publishing, stayed single. Sometimes I saw his name online, articles he wrote, books he edited. I never reached out. I assumed he hated me. Or worse, had forgotten me. But then, last month, something strange happened. I was cleaning out an old storage box and found a worn-out book. The Little Prince. It had a note inside. "To the girl who made me believe in magic again, J." I sat on the floor for an hour just staring at it. And I knew, I had to see him again. Not to rekindle anything. Just to know if he was okay. As fate would have it, his sister messaged me 2 days later. "I'm getting married. You have to come." I hesitated. But the book. The timing. It felt like the universe was giving me one last chance. I walked into the wedding feeling like a ghost from the past. Then I saw him. Jake. Standing by the bar, drink in hand, still with that calm expression that made the world slow down. He saw me. And he smiled. Not a surprised smile. Not a fake one. A real, warm, "I knew you'd come" kind of smile. We talked. The whole night. About everything and nothing. About books, music, how weird adulthood is. He'd stayed single all this time. Not because he hadn't moved on. But because he never found anyone who felt like home. We went out for coffee the next day. Then dinner. Then 3 days straight of just being around each other. It wasn't like before. It was better. We weren't kids anymore. We had scars, stories, regrets, but somehow, it all added layers instead of W. 2 weeks after the wedding, he texted me, "Come over. I have something to show you." I showed up expecting a new book or a funny meme. Instead, I found him standing in the same backyard where he first proposed, now lit with fairy lights again. He got down on one knee. This time with a ring. This time, with tears in his eyes. And he said, 10 years ago, I asked a question I wasn't ready to ask. I didn't have a ring, or a plan, or even a proper job. Just a heart full of love. I still have that heart. Maybe a little bruised. Maybe ticking slower. But still full of love. So I'm asking again. Will you marry me? I choked out a yes. Through tears. Through shaking hands. Through a full heart. But then he said something that froze me. There's something I need you to read first. He handed me a letter. Handwritten. Dated 6 months ago. Greater than if you're reading this, it means I found her again. And she said yes, or maybe she's about to. Either way, she deserves to know the truth. 6 months ago, I collapsed during a run. Turns out I have a rare heart condition. It's genetic. Manageable, but risky. I had surgery. I'm okay now, mostly. But there are no guarantees. The doctors say I could have 10, 20 years. Or less. No one really knows. Greater than I've lived without her for 10 years. I'm not willing to live without her again. But she has the right to walk away. If she says no, I'll understand. If she says yes, I promise to love her every day I have left. I couldn't speak. I dropped the letter, fell to my knees, and wrapped my arms around him. And whispered. I don't care how many years. I just want you. Even if it's one. A week later, I posted a picture of our hands. His hand holding mine. The ring visible. Captioned. He proposed again. 10 years later. And I finally said yes. I went to bed. When I woke up, the post had over 300k likes. People were messaging me from Brazil, Italy, India, the US, sharing their own lost love stories, asking for updates, crying over strangers. We started a small blog. Just updates, little essays about second chances, health updates, love letters. Then a podcast. Then we were invited to do interviews. People called it the 10-year proposal. Jake and I don't know how much time we have. We don't waste it. We slow dance in the kitchen. We argue about movies. We take random road trips. He reads poetry to me when I'm tired. I surprise him with his favorite coffee at work. Sometimes I cry when I see him sleeping. Not because I'm sad, but because I can't believe I got a second chance. We're getting married this fall. Under those same fairy lights. Surrounded by people who saw us fall apart and find each other again. He told me the other day, I waited 10 years because I knew you were it. I just hoped life would give me one more shot. It did. And this time, I didn't let go. Moral of the story. Don't assume you'll get a second chance. If you love someone, tell them. Now. Before life changes, before time slips away, before regrets take root. Because sometimes, love isn't about a perfect forever. It's about choosing each other, even when forever isn't promised.